All right, here we are again in Premiere. We've got the project panel over on the left-hand side. You can see the video clips that I've already imported. We've got the timeline over here in the lower right, and you can see my video tracks along the bottom here. I have a title that we won't actually look at because you don't have to do that. And I've got my music track down the bottom. In the upper left-hand corner is the source monitor. You can see that I've brought the audio track, the music track, up into it. This is a selection here that I've actually used. You don't have to start at the beginning. You can actually start anywhere you want to start, as long as it lasts the length of the video. In the upper right-hand corner is the program monitor. There's nothing showing because we're right at the beginning of a fade up. So before we take a look at working with video clips and audio, let's take a look at this finished video clip. Okay, let's see how we might assemble all of that. The first thing we want to do, of course, is create a new project. And I'm going to title this one Water Video. And we'll browse to a place where I've already created a folder for it. And that folder already has my videos and the music clip that I've already downloaded from Free Music Archive. So I'm going to choose that folder. Don't need to do anything else, just leave this all default. Click OK, and I'm in Premiere. First thing I want to do is I want to import all of my media, and that's either File, Import, or Command-Control-I, depending upon what computer you've got. I've got these 9 videos. There's my project that I've just started, and my audio track, it's an MP3. Notice that I've already spent some time figuring out the order that I want everything to be in. And this will just save me a lot of time in editing. You don't have to go through this, particularly when you get into your final project that has dozens and dozens and dozens of different pieces of video. But for something short like this, it speeds up the process a little bit. So I'm just going to select all of this and import it all. And it takes just a moment to end up here in the project panel. So here is everything that I've got, and it's already downloaded at 1920 by 1080, so they're all the same. It doesn't make any difference how I put any of them in. But the editing process to take a video clip and put it into the timeline is slightly different than it is when you were just dragging a still image over and knew that it was going to be 5 seconds long. Each one of these video clips is much longer than 5 seconds, and I may not want to start it at the very beginning. I may want to start or stop somewhere in the middle. So what I want to do is I want to select my first video clip that I'm going to use, and here's where knowing the order is really handy. I'm going to take this first video clip and I'm going to double click on it, and that brings it up into the source monitor. And this is the video clip. You can see that it runs this long and looks like that. And I want to find some place that I really want it to start. And so since I'm really talking about storm clouds here in this video, I'm really doing a video about the water cycle, I'm going to start somewhere along about here. Now I don't have to just drag it over here. I could play it and see in real time what it looks like. But I'm going to find some place along about there. And when I've found the place that I want, and I can do this when it's running or whether it's stopped like this, I'm going to either select this as my endpoint right here, or I can select the endpoint by pressing the I key. I can do the same thing for the out point by selecting the O key for out point or clicking right over here where I mark the out. So I'm going to let this play here for a little bit, and I'm going to start here. Notice this is 6 seconds, 18 frames. Maybe I want this to run maybe 3 seconds or so, so that's going to be about to 9 something. So I'm going to run this through here about here, and then I'm going to say that's the end, and I press the O key to get that endpoint. Now, once I've done the in and the out point, I can check my in and out point. I can either jump to the in point by clicking here, or I can jump to the out point by clicking here, But if I jump to the end point, I can now play it and see where it's going to start and what it's going to look like. And that's good for a start. It's probably a little bit long, but that's okay. This does not have an audio track with it. You can see down over here in the project panel that there is just a little film clip here. You got the little sprocket holes on the side. This one over here, the rain clip number 4, has an audio track with it. You can see the little green audio, but this one only has video. So I'm going to take this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it. I'm going to hold this, and you can see I get the little hand. I'm going to drag this down into my timeline. And there it is. I'm now in the first video channel, and here's my first video. Here's the playback head and the timeline, and if I press my spacebar, since this is now selected, you can see the highlight that says the timeline is selected. If I press the spacebar, it'll play, and I can see what it looks like. And when it gets to the end, it'll stop. All right. So that's the first thing. Notice that it now thinks that my sequence name here is called O1 Clouds, and that's because that's the name of the first video clip. I can click on here and change the name. I'm going to call this Water Cycle. You don't have to do that, but it just helps so you don't confuse this. You can see all the different tracks in here with the actual video itself. So I'm going to double click on the second one, which is a little video crane shot of a castle, and I'm going to watch it and pick some spot where I'd like it to start. And I think right about here is good because the dark clouds are coming in, and maybe this is the end right there. And I clicked I and O to get those, just kind of interactively on the fly. Again, because this only has video, I can just drag the video from here, or I can just come up here into the clip itself and drag it. I'm just going to do that, drag it down over here. I'm going to let it snap to the end of the first clip, and now I have these two here. I'll do this one more time with an audio track clip. Double click this. And this is a really long clip, and it's got a whole lot of things in it. You should be able to hear the audio as I scrub through the soundtrack. So I'm going to get all the way to the end over here, and this is what I really want. This is what I saw that I wanted. I want the raindrops. So find the beginning, click I for start, and I'll just pick that. And then I'm going to drag just the video. I don't need the sound effect of rain hitting here. So I'm going to just drag the video only by putting my hand over the film clip icon. Click and hold and drag that down over here. Now I've started to run off the edge of the timeline window. If you didn't discover this in the last module, notice down over here I can adjust how much I actually see. Now this is in pretty close. If I stretch it this way, you'll note that the timeline itself shrinks down to have more time visible in the window. And this makes it a little easier to see really long sequence clips. If I needed to get in really close to edit, I could zoom way in by making this really small over here. But I just want to see what this looks like right about there. I'm going to run my playback head to the beginning, and I'm going to play it back over here. Notice this cuts directly to my castle shot, to my rain shot. Okay, now that we've gone that far, I'm not going to build the entire video clip here for you. I want to take a look at the process of adding transitions. That'll be our fade-ins and our dissolves. Now, if you've been paying attention, you might wonder, what happened to 0, 3? Got 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. Where's the third one? Well, just because I've numbered them doesn't mean that they actually came in the right order. So this is another good reason to name your clips so you can locate them. So I'm going to bring this one up. This one also has a soundtrack. I'll double click on it, bring it up over here, and what I really wanted was this rain to start a little slower than a downpour. So let me scrub through this again. There's a nice big water droplet hit that I want to make sure is in there. So I'll start that as my in point. Let's run it. take my out point there. All I want is the video, so I'm going to drag the video on down over here, and well, wait, I've already got 4 in order, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place 3 here so it snaps to this edit point. Then I'm going to move this down. Notice the rain is in the video 2 channel, which doesn't make any difference. It'll still jump right through, but I want to have dissolves between these. So if I want the dissolves to happen, what I want to do is I want to bring them so that they're actually all in the same channel. Now this is a good time for me to actually go through and determine how long I want these clips, because I've only used 4 out of my 9 and I'm already at 20 seconds. So that means that I probably, if I start there, I really only want it to run to about here. Again, you know, I can just drag the end of this and then I can either drag this one over or I can do a ripple delete. I don't want to do quite that yet. And I think I'm going to shorten this one from the top because I want to get the top of the castle here a little bit. So bring that back over here. I'm now a little over 5 seconds. That's still probably pretty long for what I'm going to do. And then rain number 3, there's my first raindrop that I want to hit, and probably there is enough. So I'll drag that one over, snap it to my playback head, and I'm going to do a ripple delete here now, which brings everything on down. And then I'm going to snap that one in there, and because this rain is pretty much the same, just torrential, but there is probably fine. Now I'm going to have to lay in all of the rest of my video to make sure that I get to 20 seconds and that they fit the way I want to before I actually bring in the fades and the dissolves. But I'm not going to spend the time doing that here right now. Let's just take a look at the process of adding dissolves so that these don't jump from one shot to the next. So the first thing I want to do is I want to come over here to my Effects tab. It's not visible, so I'm going to click over here on the double arrows. Come down here and find Effects, and then these are all the different kinds of things that I can do. I don't want actually effects. What I want are transitions, and what I want are dissolves. These are the basic dissolves, and this one with the blue highlight is the default dissolve. It's the cross dissolve. It fades out one side as the other side is fading in. So I'm going to drag this one over here to there, and let's just see what that looks like. And now this is the default length, and one fades out and the other fades in, and it's a little smoother transition. Typically you don't want to use dissolves very much. Dissolves slow everything down, but they do indicate a passing of time. So I'm going to do the same sort of thing over here for this and this edit point. Let's see how that looks. So it dissolves into my castle shot. The castle shot dissolves into the beginning of a rainstorm, which dissolves into the full-on storm. If I go back to the beginning, I see it starts hard. What I would like to do is fade this up from black, and the easiest way to do that is still just to use a cross dissolve. Since I'm not dissolving from anything, there really is nothing ahead of that. That's essentially black. So when I drag this over, what I get is a fade up from black. And here's how that looks. And then into the dissolve to the castle. I can do the same thing at the end. If this was the end of the piece, I could just put this on over here like this, and it fades to black. Pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to select this. Notice it highlights. I'm going to get rid of this. And then what I want to do is I want to make sure that I know how long these are. So if I roll my cursor over it, I can see that it is 1 second and 4 frames. It's essentially 35 frames long. So I'm going to double click on this. You can see here it is 1 second and 5 frames. What I want this to be is just 1 second long. Now your default may vary, but I just typed in 1, and I can also delete that and say I'd like it to be 25 frames long. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to delete this one, which I think is maybe too long, and this one, which I think is maybe too long. And I'm going to select this one, which I know I just set to 25 frames long. And I'm going to copy it. So I just clicked on it, get the little white highlight here, and then I did a Command C, Control C if you're on a PC. I'm going to now come over here to this edit point, and I'm going to paste in the copy of that dissolve. And then I'm going to come over here and I'll do that. And now all these three dissolves are exactly the same length. Okay, we'll assume that I've finished the video edit at this point. Yours will actually run up to 20 seconds long. I need to add my audio to it. So I need to come over here, and I can't quite reach all my project files. I could click on Media Browser, and I can see this one over here just peeking in a little bit. I could click on that, or I can just come over here and I can say Project Water Video, and I get all my clips. So I'm going to come down over here to my audio track, and I'm going to double click on that, and I get something different up here. I don't get the video itself, I get the waveform. And I can come in here at any point. I can click and set this point here, or I could just move through here. You can listen to it scrub. And what I want to do is I want to pick something that will start that I can fade up on, and something that I can fade out on over 20 seconds. So let's start there and see what that sounds like. Now I actually picked something starting somewhere around about here and gets a little more dynamic at the end, because as I finally edited it, I end up with crashing waves in the ocean. But this is good for start for right now. Start right here, and let's click this as my in point. And then I need to go to about 10 seconds long, because that's all the clips that I've laid in so far. You'll lay it in at 20 seconds. So I'm going to scrub this through to 130, somewhere along about there. It's a little long, that's fine. And then I'm going to set my endpoint right here. And this is now the selected area of my audio track. And it's only audio, so I'm going to drag the audio only down over here to audio channel 1. And you can see it's kind of soft and gentle here as we start to fade in. And then I'm just going to bring this down to the end, because I'm going to fade out here. And this is what it sounds like. That works out pretty well here during the dissolve transition. So I need to fade in and I need to fade out. So back to my effects. And instead of the video transitions and the video dissolves, I want to go to my audio transitions, crossfade, and again, here's the default, the constant power audio dissolve. And I'm going to bring this in the beginning. That will fade in my audio track. And I'm going to bring it to the end, which will fade it back out. And here's how that sounds. Now, it's unlikely that the default length works perfectly for you. Maybe you'd like something a little longer for the dissolve. So yes, indeed, you can double click on this and get some time and kind of do this by typing in a number. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, scroll back here to the beginning, and I'm just going to grab the end of it. As I roll my cursor over it, I get the indication that it's the end of my special effect, and I'm just going to drag this a little bit longer. And you can see down below that I've now stretched it out 1 second longer. So it's now 2 seconds instead of 1 second. Let's go back to the beginning. And that's nice and subtle, and I'm going to do the opposite over here at the end. In this case, we're not really trying to match the music to the video. What we're trying to do is just get a sense of how we actually move and manipulate audio and video tracks. This should get you started for everything you're going to be doing for this module, although you could also have added sound effects. Well, I got a little carried away when I edited mine, and I added not only an audio track, but sound effects and the title as well. So let's take a look at that final piece one more time to see how that was all put together. This certainly is more than you have to do this week. All you need to do is somewhere between 5 and 10 pieces of video. Select them, connect them together, add an audio track of some piece of music. Don't forget to fade in and fade out at the end, and have fun.